Welcome to the Vogue Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Vogue Podcast. We are joined with Ronald, Eric Stark, a new member of the team, myself, and a special guest for this episode who is none other than John St. John, famous for the voice of Duke Nukem and many others. The name,
or am I infamous for it?
That's true. You're kind of infamous, but you're also very much beloved in the video game voice acting community. But you see, the name John St. John is synonymous with the pinnacle of legendary voice acting. You may have heard his voice or his name at least once before. But before we dive right in and get right into it, we have a brand new member of the team who will be joining us on the Vogue Podcast. Flash. Say hello, Flash.
Hello, it is me, Flash. That is my online handle. My real name is Bozhidar Tsekov, which is a little bit hard. So if you
Flash
want
is easier.
Flash is definitely easier. If you want, you can try Flash. If you want, you can shorten it to Boji. Whatever works.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is it Flash because you're fast or because you like to show off?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, you know.
The right answer.
But yeah, I basically work on a couple of projects as a voice actor and a level designer with these lovely people. And one day they invited me to join their podcast, and the rest is history. And here I am. So glad to be here.
Cool.
Great. With that settled, let's dive right in. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so first, I really want to congratulate you to your 60th birthday, because it's really an achievement for you, isn't it?
Yeah, knowing the lifestyle I've led over the years, hitting 60 was quite an accomplishment for me. I'm glad to still be here. I like waking up every morning still.
It's pretty good. Like I never imagined myself to reach 20, and here you are.
It's a valuable quality.
Okay.
You know, it's nice to wake up every morning, especially in these times. How are you doing with COVID?
I'm safely in my home. I don't leave unless I do some late night grocery shopping around midnight or 1 a.m. I like to go late when there's nobody in the joint. And otherwise, other than road trips out to the desert to fly my drone, I'm not getting around humans at all. Quite frankly, I don't like people. I get along better with animals. So it's all working out pretty good for me.
And man
good.
after my own heart.
What's your favorite animal?
Dogs. I love dogs. I've been a dog guy my whole life, and someday soon, once I move again, I'm going to have myself a tiny, tiny little dog, probably like a Shih Tzu or something, and I'm going to name it Shart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that's very poignant because Sam just went to go get exactly that. Did you find it?
Yeah. Well, my dog's on the couch. I don't want to force her to go anywhere,
Oh,
but
fair enough.
her name's Kira, by the way. She's a small little Pomeranian gift from God.
Oh, she's like a little dust mop.
She's like a little, yeah. I mean, every time she comes and just comes by my leg, I just feel like I'm getting Swiffer dusted.
Beautiful.
Okay,
Put a
let's
stick
start
up
with
her
the
ass and
questions.
you can clean the floors with her.
Doubles as a dog and a kitchen appliance.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yes. Well, let's get into the
Okay.
first question, shall we? So, the first question, of course, is what got you into voice acting? What led to your voice acting career?
A 45-year radio broadcast career led to it. I was an on-air personality doing morning drive or afternoon shows for many, many years. And in between those jobs, I would be a production director for radio stations. You know, the guy who's responsible for producing and voicing all of the commercials on any particular set of radio stations. So I had a lot of pre-training before I moved into the voice acting area back in 1995.
I see. Yeah, we have a lot of questions regarding your radio career as well. Wanted to.
I have a lot of answers, so this will work out great.
Yeah. That's great. Ronald, would you like to ask the second question regarding the DJing?
Sure.
Actually?
Yes. So can you tell us about the history of your golden days of DJing?
Wow. That was so much fun back in the day when radio broadcast was a good career opportunity, back before it turned into the crap it is today. But I started out at 14 years old in 1975 in a little town in North Carolina, where they were willing to have anybody off the street come up and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I want to be a DJ." And I was put on the air the first day I went down to say hello to the program director. He hired me on the spot and put me on weekends. And I did a couple of weekend shifts, and then they asked me if I'd do full time Monday through Friday. So I had to ask my parents, because I'm in 8th grade in junior high school at this point. And they said, "Okay, if you can keep your grades up, here's what we'll do. Your father can drive you to work after dinner every night," because my shift started at 7 p.m., 7 to midnight, when I'd sign the station off. And then your brother, my oldest brother, who, rest in peace, who passed away a few years ago, he would pick me up at midnight when I'd sign the station off at night. And so I did this job at a little station in North Carolina for about a year, when a brand new big FM 100,000 watt station came to Eastern North Carolina, and their program director had heard me on the air in Jacksonville, where I was, and made me an offer to go there. And then my radio career just took off from there. So I've seen America on the radio plan. I've lived everywhere, all up and down the East Coast, down south, up in New England, Cape Cod. And then I moved out west, and I've been in Phoenix, Los Angeles, San Diego, just all over the place. And it was a good 45-year career for me.
Yeah, it's really awesome to hear that you travel a lot. We also would like to ask you more about, like, your traveling and the stuff that you've done as well, even abroad.
I got lucky as a kid. I was an Air Force brat. So from the time I was 6 until I was 9 years old, I lived in Europe. My dad was in the Air Force, and we were stationed in the Netherlands. So I grew up learning how to speak the naughty Dutch words. Because the Dutch kids all wanted to know the naughty American words, and the American kids all wanted to know the naughty Dutch words. So I don't spreken ze Duits so much anymore, but I do still remember all of the naughty things that I learned in Dutch. So a little bit of it stuck with me. So as a child, I was well traveled. My family used to travel coast to coast in a Rambler station wagon, and we'd go on vacations to places like Bass Lake in California, and we'd go to Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and just all over the place. And about the time I was, when we came back from Europe, about the time I was 12 years old, we moved from Southern California to North Carolina, which was fortuitous, because just 2 years later, that's when my radio career began, which I don't think it could have happened out here in California. Growing up in the LA area, my chances at 14 years old of getting on the radio were slim and none. But in a small town in North Carolina, it worked out quite fine.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
actually really incredible to hear about how so many tiny circumstances, like that situation, and then your parents letting you and like being understandable about it and all that, going into the jump start, like so
Yeah,
many little
in
circumstances.
hindsight, when you look back at all the things that happen in your life, when they happen, and often they're terrible things that happen, it doesn't make any sense, and you can't make any reason of why this stuff is happening. But when you look back at it, this terrible thing had to happen for this great thing to come from it. So, everything, I think, happens for a reason. There's a lot of fate in life. I don't think our lives are totally random. I think somehow it's the universe has prescripted some of it.
Somebody's messing with us.
Somebody's got to be.
Somebody's
Yeah, there is an old saying about how every decision you made, whether that's intentional or unintentional, led you to this specific moment. Like there's
Right.
a lot to be looked into there.
It's important to know that, everything that you are meant for comes to you. And, it kind of gives you that sense of peace in a way, which is very nice to have.
Yeah, it's good to have faith too, though. I'll be right up front with you. I'm not religious. In fact, I'm atheist. But having faith is an important thing, and I understand why people have religion, because it affords them the opportunity to have faith in their God, their Jesus, whatever you want to call it. But just having faith means that you can live a less stressed life, knowing that things are gonna work out somehow. You don't have to stress about it too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I had the exact same philosophy. I just never thought about it that way. I just replaced the word faith with the word hope. Like you always have to have the hope that all will be well. And
Yes.
it really takes a burden off of you when you just look at things like no matter what happens, like it could still be salvaged.
Yes. Good
Could be
point.
something out there.
Yeah.
So we have a question about, the question was, did you start DJing in North Carolina? And the answer is yes. But did you ever branch out your DJ career in other radio stations as you were hired as a production director in other cities and states?
Oh yeah, all over the country, as I mentioned. Heck, I have the last time I looked at my radio resume, which was, oh Lord, 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Because I stopped making resumes because they were unnecessary. Air checks were what got you a job at another radio station.
Right.
That's a sample of how you sound on the air. But the last time I actually found a Word doc in my computer of a resume that I'd put together, there were 30 plus radio stations listed on it. So yeah, I of course I was fired many times in the radio industry because when I was young and stupid and lived in the Bible Belt of Virginia and North Carolina, I would say things on the air that I thought were clever, but they got me fired. Like playing "Come Together" by the Beatles and going FM 99, the Beatles with "Come Together," which is a good trick if you can do it. That doesn't play well in the Bible Belt, and I got fired for that.
Yeah.
But I think it was worth it in the end.
Yeah.
I thought so too. I thought I was being so funny, and I thought my blue humor would go over kids' heads, and adults would appreciate it. No, adults saw me as the kid who was trying to be obnoxious on the air. So at least a dozen times I lost my job for something I said on the air. But
I love that.
you know what? I was good. I was really good. So I'd always end up with another job within 2 days. I was never unemployed for long.
Amazing.
Oh, I see. It must have felt really bad to just get fired because you thought something was funny.
The first time I cried. I'm sure I cried the first
you
time.
cried?
Maybe the first or second time I got fired for that, I cried. But then after that, I went, fuck them. They got no sense of humor. They don't know talent if it walked up and spit in their face.
Honestly, I think it worked out well because you just got the firing band-aid ripped off, so you could just get acclimated to it, so you could do whatever. Like, that sounds like a perfect deal to me.
Exactly. And I was doing all this stuff before Howard Stern was ever a name anybody knew.
Yeah.
And for a very short while, I worked with Howard Stern, a very short, tiny time.
What? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
There's only a little bit to tell. The first station that syndicated Howard's show out of New York, he was on in New York. I was on WYSP in Philadelphia, and we were the first radio station to pick up his show and carry it in Philly. And so he came down to Philly for about a week and a half or so, and he was doing his broadcast from our studios, and we held a mock funeral for John DeBella, who was the morning guy at another station when we beat him with Howard on our air, in the ratings. And so for that week that I worked with Howard and I ran the board for him and I kind of produced for him, I was like a gopher, really. And I was, 25, 26 years old, something like that at the time. So I was young and gung-ho and anything you want, Mr. Stern. But as it turns out, Howard, everything you hear on the air from him is a show. He's a really super nice, down-to-earth guy. You wouldn't believe who he really is after hearing him, talking about skull fucking Sally Jesse Raphael and lesbian dilate and all that stuff. He's not that guy. He's just being outrageous to get ratings, and it worked quite well.
It's nice to know, like, in depth about that side of him, aside from, the stuff that he says like that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs a little bit of humanity.
Indeed.
Exactly. Eric, do you want to ask the fourth question? Any advice? Any advice for the young disc jockeys out there listening?
You want me to ask the next question?
Well, I just asked it. So, do you actually have any advice for the disc jockeys out there, the young ones?
I would be happy to take a question from Eric. Chime in, Eric.
Eric, do it. Do it.
I'll ask actually two. Or actually, no, that's one. Any advice for young disc jockeys out there for if they want to get a foot in the door in the industry or
DJs as in radio broadcasting, not right?
Is that what we're asking, Sam?
Yeah. Like even for me, like I do a lot of disc jockeying, whatever. But I just wanted to ask, if there's any advice from a disc jockey legend.
As far as broadcast radio, it's not a career opportunity anymore. It is not a good career path. Do not go to the CBS School of Radio Broadcasting or whatever. Do not seek a job in radio unless you want to be in management or you want to be in sales, because that's where the money is. Because broadcast radio today doesn't pay talent anything. That's why radio stations sound so awful and suck so bad today, because they did away with talent in the 90s and into the early 2000s when corporations came in and bought up all the stations, like that terrible company Clear Channel that changed their name to iHeart so you wouldn't hate them anymore. Well, guess what? I still hate them. And then there's Entercom and Viacom and all those big Cumulus, all those big major radio corporations who pretty much use a cookie cutter across the country. You'll notice no matter what city you go to, radio all sounds the same and it all sounds like shit. And there's very little good talent on the air anymore. And the reason for that is they cut their budget. They bought so many stations, they had no money left to pay anybody. And the first place they decided to cut budget was in the talent area. So now you have DJs who are voice tracking. That means recording all of the tracks for 15, 16 stations across the country. And they don't even get benefits because they're contractors. So there's no health benefits, there's no good pay. The unions were run out of town by corporate radio. It's just a shit place to be, and it's not a career opportunity unless you want to be a salesperson and sell ads and add to how shitty radio is. Because I don't know about where you live, but turn on any radio station in Southern California and you'll hear commercial breaks that run 9 and 10 minutes long. It's ridiculous.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my
Not
God.
something any of us want to do.
No.
So long story short, if you want to invest in a career in radio, don't. Just don't.
Or wait 5 to 10 years, because here's my prediction, and I'm pretty sure on this. All of the major corporations, radio broadcasting corporations, are going to have a fire sale in the next 5 to 10 years where they sell off everything because the business is dying slowly but surely. Do you listen to broadcast radio anymore when you've got XM Sirius, or you have your iPod, or you have Spotify, Soundify, Apple Music, whatever? There's no need to listen to a radio station with some inane disc jockey going, well, 15 minutes after 3 o'clock, let's check the traffic. You know, I don't need a traffic report. I don't need a weather report. I don't need all that extra bullshit.
Just listen to the Vogue podcast.
Do a podcast. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And the only difference between podcast and radio broadcast is podcasters still don't have a revenue stream yet, unless your name is Adam Carolla. Adam was the first and the biggest, and he's making a lot of money. But are you guys actually making money from your podcast yet? I'm guessing no.
No.
Right?
Not yet.
We are
not
doing it for fun. So
Right. Well, no, you're doing it for the love of doing it, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you're passionate about it. It's
Exactly.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, when I was a DJ on the radio, I loved it more than anything. It gets into your blood and you can't get it out of your system. But I eventually had to give it up because they just stopped paying and stopped treating me like talent and started treating me like crap. But you guys, you love what you do. Keep doing it. Hopefully someday, fingers crossed, you'll have sponsors and you'll make money doing it.
Yeah. In merch, we're in the developmental phases of folk podcast merchandise. Like,
Yeah, just don't give up. It takes time.
Yep.
Yes.
It's just such a shame to hear how many beautiful things are destroyed by corporations just sucking all the soul out of it and just replacing that with, here is the exact calculation will get us the most money out of this specific industry. The exact same thing is happening to the game industry right now, but a lot slower, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I guess you don't do any more radios these days.
Well, I am on the radio constantly. If you guys live in the United States, you hear me almost every day on the radio, but you don't know it because I still do commercials, lots and lots of commercials.
Oh dear.
And that's how I make my living. Really, there's not enough video game work to support myself.
Of course.
So
Of course.
the mainstay of my income is, of course, radio and television advertising. So I still have a foot in the door there, and I do. As a matter of fact, that's why I have to watch the time today, because I have a scheduled recording session for a big mattress company right after this.
Oh.
podcast.
Oh my goodness.
we have no
I'm
shortage
helping
of
people
knowledge.
sleep.
Well, good luck with that. Okay, let's continue. How about you ask this question, Boshi?
What, question number 6?
Yes.
All right. So, as far as we understand, you spend some time living in Australia. Can you tell us about that pastime? Do you still live there? Did you enjoy it? What's that about?
Oh, no, I've never actually lived in Australia. I
Oh.
understand why you think that, because I have said many times on Facebook and on social media that I would love to live in Australia. I spent some time there. I did convention appearances, and AvCon out of Adelaide, Australia, the first one I went to, they were kind enough to put me up after the con for several days in Sydney. And so I got to explore Sydney and fell in love with the city, and fell in love with Australians and their country, everything except of course, all the animals that want to kill you. But it's wonderful. It's modern and clean and nice, and the people are cool.
Mhm.
And I would love to move there if I could. Right now, I'm trying to find out if I can get citizenship in New Zealand, actually.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's a good country to live in. Maybe first or
Mhm.
second to New Zealand. Yeah, but yeah, I thought you actually lived there for a time, because like you said, like you post a lot about it on your social media, and like throughout the
Mhm.
years I remember seeing that. So that's why.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends in Australia, so I poke at them
Oh.
pretty often, and it
Yeah.
comes across like I probably lived there at one time because I made so many
Mhm.
friends while I was there.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what other countries did you actually travel to? Like any interesting countries?
Only as a child, I was in Europe, and we went everywhere in Europe, from Spain to England, Ireland, Germany, Belgium,
Mhm.
France.
Oh,
But
wow.
as a child, I hardly remember it. I remember the food being really good, but
Ah.
I don't remember much more. At that age, you lose a lot of those memories.
Mm. Well, this next question is very interesting. So, what is the favorite character that you voice? I'm sure I know the answer for that.
Yeah.
Hail to the king, baby!
By
I've
by
got
by
balls of
far,
steel.
I,
Oh, it's got to be Duke. Got to be
It-
Duke. And secondly would be Postal Dude. He's not pictured here, but
Mhm.
but I'm representing Postal Dude by wearing his shirt,
Well,
which is
that's
of course the monkey with all the things coming out of the straws coming out of his brain,
yeah.
and a joint in his mouth. I think that's a joint.
I thought the straws were doobies as well, actually.
I'm not sure what they are. I think they're probes in his brain. I'm not clear on that. I'll have to ask Mike Jarrett about that. He's
Mm.
the fellow with Running with Scissors that hired me to be the
Mhm.
Postal Dude voice.
You
Yeah.
regret nothing.
Mm.
Definitely.
So-
Okay.
If you could no longer act, right? What would you want to do? Like if there was some magical event where you couldn't do that, what would you be doing?
I would be a musician, which I am. I sing, I play keyboards, I play drums, I play bass. I like to produce music, and I just finished producing a jazz album recently for a group here in Southern California called Velvet Sushi. And it came out quite nice. Yeah. So I would be producing and recording music, most likely.
Do you have any music of your own that you're willing to like maybe link us?
I have written a few things, though. Those songs are, I mean, I still do stuff, but not original material. I do a lot of parodies and cover stuff, or I've done a lot of jingles. So I could share jingles with you maybe. But as far as original compositions, it would take a lot of time to find that. I'd have to dig through a big closet under the stairs, through DAT tapes and recordable CDs and cassettes to actually find them, because the 2-inch reels, big multi-track reels, 24-track tapes I used to use, those are all gone. They only last so many years before the oxide, falls off the tape or whatever, and they're destroyed. So I don't have any archives of my original music work anymore. It's a shame. It's something that I hadn't considered over the years that I would need to digitize and hold on to, because I didn't think, looking back, that it was that important. Now, of course, I wish I had captured all of that stuff digitally and mixed it down, but nothing I can share anymore, unfortunately.
I see.
There were parody songs, by the way. Since we're in this topic of music, we all know who Weird Al Yankovic is.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I was about
the
to
same
forget that.
time, the same time Weird Al got his start, I was already doing parody songs, and I'd been on the Dr. Demento show a few times. When Weird Al wanted to do his first concert appearance, It was on Cape Cod where I was a DJ, and I met him, introduced him at the show that we sponsored. And I'll never say we're friends. We were acquaintances, but Weird Al and I got to hang out for a little while, and he inspired me. But I had to produce all of my own music with MIDI gear that was available back in the 80s, right? So I'm multi-track recording all of my stuff and mixing and all that. Weird Al, on the other hand, had Rick Derringer, who was famous for the song Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. And Rick Derringer is quite a producer. So Weird Al had Rick Derringer producing his stuff. So like when he did Eat It instead of Beat It, it sounded just like the original. And it was all done in Hollywood and LA in recording studios in a professional manner. All of my stuff was produced at a radio station. So Weird Al took it to another level, and his writing is so good. He's so creative that he just blew my doors off. And I went, okay, that's not my thing anymore. Can't compete with that. And I got out of it and just went back to being DJ on the radio.
Man single-handedly ended a potential career there.
No, I'm so glad that he did what he did, because I love Weird Al's work. He is one of the most creative guys I've ever known. And that I share that common background with him just makes me love him even more.
Yeah. We all love him here on
The man's a treasure, after all.
He is. He is indeed.
Should I go with the next question?
Definitely.
Sure.
Right. So as we've probably noticed by now, you have voiced a lot of characters in your time as a voice actor. Have any lines been improvised? And if you actually have one, like, do you have a favorite improvised line that you managed to do that stuck with you, that's really famous for one of the characters you've done?
For Duke, actually, I keep pointing the wrong way, Duke. And it wasn't so much my line. I tend to not ad lib too much. The writers, the script writers for these games prefer that you stay on task, right? And don't change the context, blah, 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 blah. But in recording Duke Nukem Forever in 2010, I think was when we did that, there was a line where Duke says, oh yeah, what are you, something, you douchebag, right? And my son, who was 16 at the time, was in the next room over, and he heard me recording. And he comes over and he knocks on the door and he goes, "Hey, are you doing Duke Nukem stuff?" And I went, "Yeah." He goes, "I heard you say douchebag. We don't use that term anymore." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "We use the term douche nozzle." And I, what? He said, "Yeah, that's the dirtier part of the whole douche system."
I don't
and I laughed at it and I said, "Oh, I'm going to give them an alternate take." And I called somebody a douche nozzle in the Duke Nukem Forever game, and they used it somewhere. So that was pretty much the only ad lib that I did for the Duke games. I tend to stick to the script. I might change a word here or there, but I never change the context.
Yes.
But I think douche nozzle was a interesting ad lib.
I've definitely heard that plenty of times, probably from Duke.
You have,
right?
Why?
Did you ever thought that Duke would become such a huge pop culture icon?
You know, I didn't know Duke was anything for the first probably 8 years that Duke was a thing. When 3D came out in 1996, my oldest brother, who I mentioned earlier, has passed away. He and I used to play Duke match games online through the modem. Remember the old dial-up modem shit?
Yeah.
So we get disconnected every 10 minutes or so. And he was in Virginia. I was here in California. But we used to play the game all the time. And we enjoyed it. But I didn't know there was any following at all. I didn't know anybody knew the game. It was just another video game as far as I was concerned. Until 2003 or 4, when I got a phone call out of the blue from a fella who ran a convention and was asking if I'd be interested in making an appearance. And I said, "Why would you want me to appear?" He goes, "'Cause you're Duke Nukem, man." And I went, "Yeah, and?" he goes, "God, man, Duke Nukem is huge." And so I think it was that evening after I got off the phone with this guy, I went on and I Googled Duke Nukem, and my face shows up. And I went, "Holy shit, somebody put my picture on there with Duke Nukem." And I start reading, and he's got a huge following. And after I made that first convention appearance, then it was one after another. When people found out that I was doing convention appearances, all of the con chairs, all the con organizers started asking me if I'd come and appear. So now I've been all around the world doing convention appearances, mainly because of Duke Nukem. And so no, initially I didn't know it was anything. I had no idea until that first convention appearance.
You were in disbelief when people were telling you over the phone.
Yeah, I didn't know why they wanted me. I was happy. You know, they pay me and they fly me first class to go to these conventions, and I'm going to take it.
Yeah, well,
because
Of course.
I get all the frequent flyer miles.
it's not like it's not like you were like going up to people saying I'm Duke Nukem, and like you don't. It's not like you were going to people and just saying, "Hey, I did this." I mean, you didn't even know.
No, in fact, I'm the last person to do that. I don't tell people when I'm introduced, oh, and I'm the voice of Duke Nukem. No, I'm a producer, voice actor, director.
Exactly.
But my friends, on the other hand, my best friend Art, for instance, anytime I'm introduced to anybody, he goes, "This is my friend John. He's Duke Nukem." And you know, and it's funny too, because most men will go, "Wow, cool, you're Duke," and I'll go, "Yeah, I've got balls of steel." They get all fanboy, but he thinks women give a shit about Duke, and I go, "My buddy John here's the voice of Duke Nukem," and women go, "Duke what? Who?"
What?
They haven't a clue,
Ah.
which is a shame.
Yeah.
I might get laid more often if.
If it was a movie, I guess, you know, if it was more of like a movie, it was in a show or more media.
There's still that possibility, I guess.
With Duke Nukem, the
well,
movie.
definitely.
There,
Oh yeah. Oh, there's been a lot of talk about it, and they've been working on a script for years.
Oh.
And you probably were going to ask at some point, how do you feel about John Cena being Duke Nukem? They did talk to John Cena about doing it, but that plan was scratched a while back.
oh wow.
Personally, I don't want to see a live action Duke Nukem film because CG today is so good that they could do an R-rated CG Duke Nukem movie. So he could be obnoxious, obscene, use all that filthy motherfucking language that he should be using. He can literally rip somebody's head off and shit down their neck because it's CG. I try doing that in live action, right? And that would make for a great film, in my opinion.
There's this
Definitely.
show called Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, and I'm a pretty big fan of it. But the point is that there's this one episode. There's like a few episodes where it's CG, but it looks so realistic. And in this particular episode, it's like the first one. It is so unbelievably gory and disgusting and gross that I had to look away from the screen. Like it is like
This man
This
right
man
here.
Yeah, I
right
mean,
here.
You
no,
had to look away from it?
I mean, for like it got so bad. Like imagine like what happened? Like, yeah, it was just this person's head just getting cracked open like a watermelon. It was I mean, for me, I mean, I consider myself a little bit of a sensitive guy when it comes to this. I mean, Duke Nukem, right? I mean, that he's just awesome. His voice is great, but when it comes to smashing someone's head open like a coconut, that's where I kind of draw the line. I had to read a book or something.
Did you have any problems with Deadpool or Deadpool 2?
Stuff like that was fine, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they did that. They did that. I mean, there were heads that were cracked open, though they're very fast.
Yeah.
It happens real quick.
Yeah, no, but like the thing about this one is it was slow, grimy, and like it was like they were going right in there. They were putting their
Ooh.
grimy hands right into showing you like this gross head just getting freaking destroyed. Like
The
Wow.
That's
makeup
the thing,
department probably had a field day with that one.
if it was
Graphic,
like instant, I
R-rated.
would've- Yeah, I mean it was like above M.
Over the top.
Over the top.
Yeah, I don't know if
okay.
gratuitous violence, way over the top gore like that is necessary.
Yeah, honestly, I
you know.
think a Duke Nukem movie would be more akin to Sausage Party if you've heard of that one.
Yes. As a matter of fact, I was pissed off when Sausage Party came out because it was the first R-rated CG movie, and I wanted Duke Nukem to be the first R-rated CG movie. So they got beat to the punch already. Come on, Gearbox. Shit or get off the pot.
Get your shit together.
Come on, Gearbox.
Yes.
Box.
So, are there any games where you didn't have to record new lines, but the old were reused? Are you?
Oh yeah, that happened in all of the early Duke Nukem stuff. I mean, I did the original Duke 3D session, and then those voice files were used in Time to Kill, 0 Hour, Manhattan Project. All of those games used the same stuff. So You know, and here's the funny thing too. Here's how the video game industry has evolved over the years. Back in 1995, when I recorded Duke Nukem 3D, I think I probably made $800 recording all those lines. That's it. Today, when or let's go back to Duke Nukem Forever, when they called me and said, "Hey, hell froze over. We're going to record this game after all. What do you want?" I said, "I want X," and it was a goodly amount. And they went, "Okay." And video games now are union scale. Most of them are union, the AAA games. So for instance, Star Trek Online is a game where I've done, I don't know, 20, 30 character voices for that game. And it's union scale. So in 18 minutes of recording, I can, doing 3 or 4 voices, I can get a full day SAG-AFTRA pay.
Wow.
So I'm not going to tell you what that amount is, because for 18 minutes of work, you'll hate me for what I made for it.
Whoa.
But today, it's much better now that we're unionized. Go Unions!
Yes, I think
than-
unions
than
are the
it was
future.
back in the day.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So this is actually regarding Duke Nukem Forever. I don't know if you know this, but well, you're well aware that the game had like a track record of being in development hell and being passed to like different developers and different game studios.
Mhm.
Is there like any interesting stories about that? Like, did they call you in when initially it was first being developed in the beginning of the decade? I believe it was the beginning of 2000s, and then they kind of scrapped it, gave it to someone else, and then they did their own thing. Or
I was like, I knew nothing at all. I didn't even know they were making another Duke game. I didn't follow gaming. You know, I didn't read PC Gamer magazine or any of that back in the day, because though I would play some games, I'm not a gamer.
yeah,
You know, I spent most of my time doing radio and voice acting and trying to find more work. I didn't devote much time to the game industry. So I had no idea, except that I think around 2002 or 3, I knew that there was something about Duke Nukem Forever that was supposed to happen, but I never heard a word until 2010, when they actually called me and said, "Hey, guess what? Hell's frozen over and we need you to record it." And that was the first I knew of anything new Duke ever coming along.
so they probably just were reusing old lines as placeholders till they had something solid to bring you in for.
Or what they call a scratch track, where they have somebody on staff who talks like this and would put the lines in until, you know, I come along. But you know, in video games, it's done the opposite of animation. For instance, in animation, all the recordings, all the voice work is done first, and then they animate to you know, make the lip
to lip
flaps
sync,
work.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and in video games, it's not done like that. The voice is the last thing done, and it's probably for the for the best for the developers, because I mean, sure, we have NDAs, but voice actors, we talk. We got big mouths. They don't want us talking about any games we're involved in, because everything's so secretive in the video game industry, right?
Mhm.
So it works out to their advantage that we don't record until the last like 2 or 3 months before the game's released, before we even do the voiceover stuff. And then they make the character lip flap work at that point. You know, they've animated everything in the game in advance. Only the mouth is left.
Yeah.
And so that's why the voice work is last in video
Yes.
games. And it does, you know, it's to their advantage, I think.
Okay, so have you ever heard someone nail the Duke's voice?
There is a guy at Lazy Gamer Reviews. I forget his name.
Oh, I
but
know
he's
that.
Yeah, but he's the closest thing to my voice I've heard. There are a whole bunch of people. I don't know if you guys are aware. I don't even have a TikTok account, but
No,
apparently I'm
Nobody
very
here does.
famous.
Neither do
Oh.
Yeah,
I.
apparently I'm very famous on TikTok right now because of all the Duke coronavirus things that I recorded. People are now lip syncing themselves, doing all of my Duke pickup lines for the COVID times.
Those
And
are
they are
hilarious.
getting famous on my creativity, which I don't care
Mhm.
for. There's a fellow on Twitter who has a gigantic following, bigger than mine, who does a bad impression of me, but he does silly lines by Duke Nukem, and it's made him famous. And I don't think he sounds like me. He just does this. Everybody does this, right?
Exactly. I know who
Doesn't
you're talking
sound-
about.
Yeah. I don't know how to take that. I mean, people tell me, oh, you should be flattered by that kind of thing, but they're getting famous on my creative, and I don't know how to feel about it yet. I'm not angry. I don't get it. It's like, and you guys are going to hate me for this. All of your viewers are going to hate me too for this, but like playthrough where you watch other people play video games on the internet, I don't understand that for 1 second. What is your life like that it's entertaining for you to watch somebody else play a fucking video game? Play it yourself.
Oh, I mean, I could give you a reason for it if you want.
They're in it for the commentary mainly.
I'm just being obnoxious, silly right now. I get it. I'm just being an asshole. Just for fun.
Could you rate Sam's impression of the Duke?
Let's hear it.
Okay.
Do you want me to do a line and then you mimic?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I would love to hear the man himself first.
Okay, here we go. Do this one. Your face, your ass. What's the difference? Okay.
I'm gonna have to try to say that without me laughing. That's a funny line. Your face, your ass. What's the difference?
Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad.
I mean, like, I want to like get your feedback on it, and like I want to like perfect it, and like I don't not like.
Okay, so the first thing is back when we did Duke 3D, all of those sessions were directed, or that session I should say was directed, right. And the director made me keep my teeth clenched together, and everything sounded, so everything was kind of monotone and sounded like this. Your ass is right. Until Duke Nukem Forever came along, and when that happened, I said, who's going to direct the session? They said, you don't need to be directed. You've been Duke for 15 years. Just do what you do. And I'm like, that's nicer than to say that. I may have been Duke for 15 years, but I hadn't recorded anything in that time. But I decided I'm not going to keep my teeth clenched like this. I'm going to give Duke more personality, right? And a little more inflection. Instead of everything being in this monotone voice, now he's going to be able to inflect a bit and have some emotion. So when you do your voice, don't just go, I'll kick your asses. And don't stretch the words out too long, because that's not Duke. Duke is, I ought to kick your ass. Say that. Just go, I ought to kick your ass.
I ought to kick your ass. Oh, okay. I did.
That was pretty good. You guys hear it? That was pretty good.
Pretty good.
You know, the thing is, like, when it comes to the word ass, I always put emphasis on ass because it's just hilarious to me. But like, so
well, because I don't say ass either. I go ass.
Yeah, you say
kick your ass. There's a weird affect to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? So basically, how it works is like, I kind of just say it normally and not just put like kind of string out the words like, I ought to kick your ass. Like that.
That was nice.
Awesome.
That was good. That was good.
Oh, thank you. That's
but you're not getting the job until I'm dead, motherfucker.
Oh, I wouldn't want to take your job if it was, I don't know.
The last job on earth.
I would have it any other way.
Right.
So let's just go quickly to the Half-Life series. You voice acted for a few characters in Half-Life. How did you felt when you got asked by Valve to participate in the Half-Life series?
I was honored initially because Valve has a very good reputation for the quality of their games and for the way they treat the voice actors. In fact, two of my dear friends who are voice actors, John Patrick Lowry and his wife Ellen McLean, who's GLaDOS. I'm sure you know who GLaDOS is.
Yeah,
they live in Seattle. And they practically live at Valve. They're in there all the time. And they had told me back when, hey, if Valve offers you something, man, take it. They're really good people. No matter what the pay is, just take it. So anyway, the pay was fine. And the beauty of Valve, and for a lot of the games I did because of Duke Nukem, there's an up and a downside. First of all, I was pigeonholed for a long time that other games developers wouldn't hire me because they didn't want me to do Duke Nukem. Well, they thought I was a one-trick pony. That was the only voice I had. Come on, guys. So Valve took a chance, and when they hired me, like a lot of other companies did, it was because I was Duke, because they grew up playing Duke Nukem. And these kids who were, 18, 19 when Duke came out, who are now in their 30s and they're game developers, they're fanboys. And they just wanted to meet me and drink with me because I have a reputation for drinking tequila, right? So the guys at Valve, I'm sure they wanted me up there specifically so we could hang out and party too, because where I could have recorded in my studio or in a studio in Los Angeles, they insisted on flying me to Seattle when I recorded for them, just so we could all hang out for the weekend and party and drink and of course record for the game.
Yeah.
So that's basically how that worked out. It was great. Good relationship.
I'm sure you remember your work in of course, with Gearbox, Opposing Force and Blue Shift. So what directions did you get while voicing the HECU and the military police? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And actually, yeah, I'm the training. Wait a minute. Which game? Which game did you?
Probably opposing force.
Yes,
Oh, Half-Life, the Half-Life game.
Half-Life
Half-Life,
1,
yes, yes.
the short
The
expansion for
expansions.
Half-Life 1.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I should have said Half-Life, but Half-Life opposing force. So yeah.
I'm trying. Was I Dr. Rosenberg?
You were.
Yes, you were also, but you also played some soldiers there.
Yeah, yeah.
Drill
Those are
instructor?
just additional voices. So I don't really have a great memory of that. Just that I was a part of it, and fortunately, it was a game that was big enough to have some notoriety. But Counter-Strike Global Offensive, that's one that I really enjoy doing. If you don't mind me skipping ahead,
Oh,
Because-
sure.
Go ahead.
because the director said, "You've seen Full Metal Jacket," and I went, "Hell yeah, I've seen it, boy. I ought to come over to your house and fuck your sister. I like you, boy." And he goes, "Arlie Ermy, that's exactly what we want. Can you do that?" And so I did, and it was a great session. It was so much fun, and it was funny, and I was cracking them up because I'm going off all Arlie Ermy style. And then they had me do alternate takes, and they ended up using all the alternate takes for the game, which is a shame. It was more toned down, and it wasn't me doing my Arlie Ermy impression. It was kind of there. It was halfway between my natural voice and the Arlie Ermy impression. But I wish they'd used the original takes. That would have been way better.
Yes.
In that time, did you end up actually playing Counter-Strike?
No, I've played it a couple of times. The only thing you'll notice in Counter-Strike of me doing is I'm the training instructor.
Yeah.
Now we're going to take some shots. I have lines like, "Well, you've proven you can take out cardboard targets. Now let's go out and shoot at some real human beings." So it was like that Southern gentleman kind of training instructor. That's all you hear of me in Counter-Strike Global Offensive anymore. The game that had Dwight T. Barnes as the drill instructor.
That's
Yeah.
Opposing Force.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
yeah,
a
that was
Half-Life.
Opposing
That's going
Force.
back to
Oh.
Opposing
That's
Force.
Half-Life.
Okay, thank you very much. I confused them. There's so many similar characters.
Yeah, it's fine.
Opposing Force was, in fact, another one where Arlie Ermy character voice was needed, but then they toned it way down after the fact because they thought it was just too intense and offensive. Offensive, I should say. Did I make that clear? Intense and offensive to the sensibility of players, which, of course, today, not at all. I mean,
The poor
everything's over
things.
the
Think
top
of the
anymore.
children.
Yeah.
Right.
So, do you still remember the voice of Dr. Rosenberg, perhaps?
No.
Scientist
I
guy.
haven't
Scientist
played the
guy.
game in so many years that I
he
can't
was
remember.
he was a little bit like your regular speaking voice, except every now and then you'd slightly dip into British accent territory.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
You-
Okay.
Do you
Or
remember
like-
anything like that?
No.
Oh well,
To
Well,
be
that's
honest,
fine.
no. Hey,
That's
remember, I'm 60, okay?
that's fair. That's
My
fair.
short-term memory sucks.
It's fine.
And I have a problem with my short-term memory.
Mm,
Well, you've done a lot of stuff. I mean, especially Rosenberg. I mean,
yeah,
There's a lot of
like,
stuff that
with
kinda
somebody as an illustrious career as yours, it's easy to forget.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
everything else
not
kinda
to remember
overshadowed.
everything you've done.
I was gonna ask about Sonic really quick. You were Big the Cat. How were you approach that? And
Okay, so the cat story is Lonnie Manella, who directed that, and she's also the one who cast me as Duke Nukem originally, the very first game I did. She called me one afternoon during the week, and she goes, "Hey, we're recording a game this Saturday over in Kearney Mesa. We need you at the studio there." And I said, "Okay, great. Send me the sides for my audition." She goes, "Don't worry about that. We'll give you a part when you get there." And I'm like, "What? Okay." So I show up, and my friend Ryan Drummond is in the studio recording the Sonic lines, and there's a bunch of other actors out in the hallway. When Lonnie comes out of the studio and she comes up to me and she shows me a picture of
Big
Where is
for
he?
that.
this guy.
Yeah.
She goes, "This is the character you're going to do." And I went, "What the hell is that?" She said, "It's a big, fat, dumb cat. So do a dumb voice." So, okay. So I get in the booth and just messing around, I went, "Where's my froggy? You don't look so good, little buddy." And the Japanese director who's on the line from Tokyo goes, "Oh, that one, that's good." And I went, no, I'm just kidding. I can do a better voice. No, that one. And they ended up using that stupid voice. And then at convention appearances, fans would go, "It's so weird that you're Duke and you're Big the Cat. Why don't you like Big the Cat?" And I went, "Because the voice I did for him was so stupid." And so people assumed that I hated the character. No, I hated the voice I did, not the character.
Okay.
So Dota 2, you've probably heard of it. Half the characters are in the background. Yeah. You said that you did some work with CS:GO. Was the time you were contracted by Valve to go actually work for them firstly with CS:GO, or was it Dota? Because Dota started development in 2009. So what came first?
Dota 2 was
Okay.
first for me before Counter-Strike.
And how was the experience like? Because it's such a interesting, like, different genre than what you're used to. Because everybody, like you said, oh, it's a Duke Nukem guy. He only does one voice. So how was it like to actually get approached by Valve and actually have them? You're gonna voice a crazy cultist. You're gonna voice a pirate. You're gonna voice the Void. You're gonna voice a crazy man with an axe. So how was that?
That was pretty cool, actually. And at this time, studio technology, internet technology got so much better that they no longer flew me to Seattle to record. I recorded all of the Dota 2 stuff at the Warner Brothers studios in Hollywood, which you've seen on TV before. The Animaniacs lived there in the tower. But that was a great experience, too, because we dialed in these voices on the scene. They knew which characters they wanted me to do. And I had seen artwork. And so we didn't dial the voices in until we got in the studio, and they said, "Okay, we've got this Admiral Kunkka, right? Do you have a voice for that?" And I went, "I can do the same voice that I did for King Varian Wrynn in the first World of Warcraft." And they went, "What's that?" I said, "It was my stupid Patrick Stewart bad impression." "Oh, well, then do that." "Hello, this is Admiral Kunkka. Mr. LaForge, take off that silly visor and engage." So I'm doing that voice. They went, "Oh, that's perfect. Okay." And then Bloodseeker.
Yep.
For that one, they said he has a Hispanic heritage. On Bloodseeker, he would talk like this of the Flayed twins. They went, "Oh, that's good." So you got it. And then Axe. I can never decide which way I'm supposed to be pointing. Axe.
Yeah, that way. Yeah.
Axe is Axe. Axe just talks like this all the time. You know. And Enigma had so much effect on it that anybody could have done the voice of Enigma. It has that reverse feedback sound, Phil Collins, "In the Air Tonight." You know, anybody could have done that one.
Well, the interesting thing about Enigma is if you actually dial back the sound effects, it actually sounds like Duke Nukem, just being a bit more eerie. So
that's what I thought too. Yeah.
So that's the closest we'll get to Duke and Dota. But
exactly.
To finish the Dota lightning round, this happened around 2010. A decade later, they asked you to come back to reprise Axe. Did they exactly explain to you what the situation was with Axe? Like why you're revoicing the character? Like why for some reason Axe has come back, but now he's a diaper baby?
No, they never explained it to me. In fact, they never used the game title Dota 2 either. They always gave, and they still do this, all developers today, when a voice actor has a game to do, they give it some crazy nonsensical name. I was coming in to record the Madison Project, right? And I'm like, "What's that?" And I get in the studio and I see a script that says Axe. I went, "Oh, this is Dota 2. They went, "Shh, don't say that. Don't say that." And so Axe had such a following that they decided at one point they wanted to give him his own spin-off game, which I guess did not happen. But there's a lot of downloadable content to Dota 2. So I still, to this day, go back to Warner Brothers and record from time to time.
They did kind of give him his own spin-off game. It's called Artifact. It didn't do so well. It's one of Valve's lesser-known projects.
That's too bad.
Unfortunately, but they're trying to remake that, so your role reprisals for that one are going to still get some use out of them.
Hopefully. Own my own convention called King Con Cruise, and it's a fan convention aboard a cruise ship, Royal Caribbean cruise ship from Orlando, Florida to the Bahamas. I have DC Douglas as a guest. I have Samantha Inouye Hart. I've got Wes Johnson. who's Shea Gorath, and he's the voice of the Washington Capitals. I have other celebrity voice actor guests who appear on my cruise every year, and you can come along too. 4 full nights for about $380, and that includes all of your food. So go to kingconcruise.com, and we had to push it off. It was scheduled for this coming March, our 3rd year, but I decided because of the pandemic, it's not a good time to be aboard a cruise ship. So it's now February 28th of 2022. So you have over a year to figure out if you want to go or not, and buy your badge and buy your room and come party with me for a week. We'll go kayaking together and snorkeling and all that stuff.
Definitely.
I am so excited. I live in Georgia.
Okay.
It's very possible for me. So
Excellent.
I'm from Chicago. So
you know, we have so many people coming from Detroit and Washington, D.C. and Washington State. We got people from all over the country and Canada who come to my cruise every year. So hopefully you can too. And so will your followers.
Thanks for watching this crap. Now like the video and subscribe to the Voke Podcast, you douche nozzle.